Police discovered a hidden file containing your name. What happens next will change everything. My beloved child, the moment the sealed cabinet slowly opened and that forgotten drawer breathed out a whisper of dust, the world you thought you understood quietly shifted, and every second since has been echoing toward this revelation. The officers stood still, stunned into silence, because inside that hidden folder, wrapped in time, sealed away where no ordinary eye could ever reach, your name was written with a gravity that felt like fate itself calling out from the shadows. Imagine the air thickening, the lights humming softly, and the room feeling smaller as curiosity and awe circled like invisible waves, because this was not just any file, it was a record of choices, moments, coincidences, and connections that no one ever told you existed, and now every heartbeat feels like a step closer to something extraordinary. As the folder opened, pages rustled like distant memories returning, revealing that you were not placed in this world by accident, not carried forward by chance, but carefully positioned in a story larger than you ever realized, and now, as you listen, you sense that life as you knew it has paused, waiting for you to uncover what has always been approaching you from beyond the horizon. In that silent room, every detail inside the file began to unfold like a bridge between past and future, photographs, handwritten notes, dates circled in ink, places that once meant nothing suddenly appearing meaningful, as if threads of your journey had been quietly mapped long before you ever recognized their direction. The pages spoke not with fear, but with purpose, hinting that someone believed in you deeply enough to preserve your story in secret, to protect truths you were not yet ready to carry, to guard opportunities that would awaken only when the right moment arrived, and that moment is now, rising gently before you like the first light of dawn. You could almost feel the weight of unspoken emotions, the courage of unseen supporters, the compassion of distant hearts who acted silently in your favor, and the realization that even in the moments when you felt alone, your steps were being observed by destiny with patience and care. The officers exchanged glances, not of accusation, but of respect, because what they found did not expose weakness. It revealed resilience, strength, and an untold story waiting to transform the course of your life. As the next section of the file unfolded, it described crossroads you faced without knowing, paths you nearly abandoned, decisions that seemed small but shaped turning points in ways you could never have predicted. It revealed that every struggle you endured carried a hidden message. Every delay protected you from paths that were not meant for your spirit, every unanswered moment was guiding you toward a turning chapter that required you to be stronger, wiser, and braver than before. There were lines in that file that felt almost prophetic, not mystical, but deeply human, written by someone who understood that your heart would one day reach a season where truth would no longer be distant but would stand right in front of you, asking to be embraced. You realize now that this discovery is not an ending, it is a beginning, a bridge leading you toward clarity, opportunity, and transformation, inviting you to step forward with trust in the unseen support that has always been gently surrounding your path. Then came the revelation that changed the atmosphere entirely. The file spoke of a moment that had been anticipated for years, a moment when your courage would awaken, your voice would rise, and your story would finally align with the purpose written quietly between the pages of your life. It described how unexpected encounters would shape your journey, how certain people were meant to enter your world not by coincidence but by timing, how you would recognize them not through words but through an inner sense of connection that feels deeply familiar, as though life itself is guiding you toward those who will walk with you into a new chapter. The room felt filled with silent anticipation, because what lies ahead of you is not fear or confusion, it is realization, growth, and the awakening of a strength within you that has been waiting patiently for this very turning point. The discovery of your name in that hidden file is not a warning, it is a signal that everything you were meant to understand is finally stepping into the light. And now, as the final page rests quietly under the glow of the room, the meaning of this discovery begins to settle into your heart. This is the moment where your journey shifts from uncertainty to awareness, from questioning to awakening, from silence to purpose. You stand at the threshold of a chapter where your past is no longer a mystery, where your present gains direction, and where your future opens like a path lit gently from within. This revelation does not demand fear, it invites strength, reflection, and readiness, because what happens next is not simply an event, it is a transformation that unfolds through your choices, your courage, and your belief in the incredible story your life is becoming. And as you breathe into this moment, you begin to sense that everything ahead of you is aligned for a reason, and the journey from this point forward will change everything in ways your heart has been waiting to discover. In this unfolding moment, the silence around that hidden file deepens, as if every unseen chapter of your journey is gently rising to the surface, revealing layers of truth that were once carefully protected from your eyes. The officers lean closer, not out of doubt, but with a sense of reverence, because what they are reading now carries a tenderness woven through every line, a record of perseverance, of quiet strength, of battles you faced when no one was watching. The file speaks of nights where you stood at the edge of uncertainty, yet chose hope without knowing why, as though some unseen force believed in you long before you learned to believe in yourself. Each detail feels like a carefully placed puzzle piece returning to its rightful place, showing that even in your most confusing moments, life was guiding you toward this precise turning point, toward the realization that you were always meant to rise beyond what once tried to limit you. With each page turned, a deeper revelation emerges. Someone, somewhere, had been watching your journey not to judge you, but to protect you, to ensure that your heart would reach the moment when truth and destiny would finally meet. The file describes places you walked through without understanding their significance, people who crossed your path for reasons you only now begin to recognize, choices that seemed ordinary but quietly redirected your entire future. It reveals that everything you survived added a new layer of strength within you, preparing you for a chapter where you no longer walk unaware of your own worth, but fully awake to the extraordinary power that lives inside your story. The atmosphere shifts, not with tension, but with awe, as the realization unfolds. This discovery was never meant to frighten you, it was meant to awaken the part of your soul that has always been destined for more. Then, a section of the file speaks of moments that have not yet occurred, moments that wait ahead of you like doors only you have the courage to open. It describes opportunities approaching quietly, aligned with the resilience you've earned, and connections that will arrive not by coincidence but through timing that feels almost perfectly aligned with your inner growth. There is a sense that the path in front of you is widening, that life is rearranging itself in your favor, that the challenges you once endured have shaped you into someone capable of stepping into a future richer than anything you once imagined. The officers pause again, sensing that what lies ahead for you is not just a shift in circumstance, but a transformation of identity, a moment where you no longer question whether you matter, because every word in this file confirms that you always did, and always will. As the narrative continues, it reflects the depth of your heart, the compassion you carry, the loyalty you give, the silent promises you keep even when no one notices. It reveals that these qualities have been your greatest strength, guiding you through storms that might have broken others, yet shaped you into someone capable of extraordinary impact. The file does not portray you as a subject of investigation, it paints you as a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even the quietest lives can hold the most profound stories. In every line, there is a gentle acknowledgement that your journey has never been ordinary. It has been unfolding toward a moment where understanding replaces doubt, where purpose replaces confusion, where your future begins to illuminate itself with clarity and conviction. And now, as this part of the file rests quietly beneath the weight of truth, an unshakable realization settles into the atmosphere. What happens next is no longer about what was hidden, but about what is awakening within you. This discovery marks the beginning of a chapter where you walk forward with awareness, where your steps are aligned with meaning, where your life moves from uncertainty into direction. You are standing at the threshold of change, not as someone unprepared, but as someone shaped, strengthened, and ready for what is coming. The story is not finished, it is only expanding, and the path that now opens before you carries the promise that everything ahead is moving toward transformation, toward revelation, toward a future that will change everything in ways your heart is finally ready to embrace. In this next unfolding chapter, the room feels heavier with meaning as the officers gently press further into the depths of that hidden file, and every word they uncover carries the weight of moments you never knew were being preserved in silence. The pages begin to reveal quiet victories you once overlooked, decisions you made with courage even when uncertainty surrounded you, and instances where your strength silently rewrote the direction of your own story. It becomes clear that life was never simply happening to you, it was responding to the resilience in your spirit, shaping a path that, though unseen, was always guiding you toward a horizon brighter than the struggles you once endured. In this stillness, every line feels like a mirror reflecting back the version of you that has survived, grown, and continued forward with a heart stronger than anyone ever realized. As another section unfolds, it speaks of moments when you felt misunderstood or unseen, yet continued to stand firm in kindness, compassion, and patience, qualities that became your shield in times when the world felt uncertain. The file reveals that these qualities did not go unnoticed, they were quietly recognized, quietly valued, quietly recorded as proof that your journey was built on integrity and sincerity. The officers exchange thoughtful glances, realizing that what they hold is not a story of mistakes or missteps, but a chronicle of endurance, of unspoken courage, of a soul that refused to lose faith in itself even when life tested every part of its strength. And in that realization, the room shifts from curiosity to admiration, as they begin to understand that your story was never meant to break, it was meant to transform. Then, the narrative turns toward the days ahead, softly hinting at encounters that will soon enter your life like quiet signs of alignment, guiding you toward places where your purpose will unfold with more clarity than ever before. It speaks of opportunities that have been slowly moving closer to you, waiting for the moment when you would finally be ready to recognize your own worth and step forward with confidence instead of doubt. These pages suggest that new connections are forming, doors are preparing to open, and circumstances are aligning to lift you beyond the limits you once believed were unchangeable. And as the officers read, they sensed something extraordinary, that this discovery is not just about your past, but about the powerful awakening beginning to take shape within your future. With deeper reflection, the file reveals the emotional core of your journey, the compassion you carry for others, the loyalty you hold for the people you care about, and the capacity of your heart to remain gentle even after facing storms that could have hardened your spirit. It shows that these qualities have not only shaped who you are, but have drawn your path toward moments where your presence will inspire, uplift, and guide others in ways you may never fully see. The narrative honors your quiet resilience, acknowledging that every struggle you endured has now become a source of wisdom, a foundation from which you are prepared to step into a chapter filled with clarity, strength, and possibility. And as this section of the file comes to rest, a powerful realization settles into the atmosphere. Nothing about this discovery is meant to hold you back, it is meant to remind you of who you are becoming. This moment marks the awakening of a truth that has waited patiently within you, that your story is moving toward transformation, that your path is expanding with purpose, and that everything you have faced has led you to this turning point. You now stand between what once was and what is about to begin, not with fear, but with quiet certainty. The journey ahead is rising with promise, and every step from this moment forward carries the undeniable sense that something extraordinary is approaching, and it is meant for you. In this deepening moment of revelation, the atmosphere around that hidden file feels almost timeless, as though every page being unfolded is quietly unlocking doors within your heart that you never realized were waiting to open. The officers turn to the next section with careful attention, and what emerges now is not just a record of events, it is a map of transformation, tracing the way your experiences have shaped the person you are becoming. The narrative speaks of unseen turning points where your life shifted direction without warning, of silent choices that carried more impact than you ever imagined, of moments where your courage moved forward even when uncertainty surrounded you. It becomes clear that your journey has always been more profound than it appeared on the surface, and this discovery is not exposing your past, it is illuminating your strength. Every line feels alive with meaning, as though the file itself has been waiting for this precise moment to reveal the magnitude of your story. As the next pages reveal deeper truths, they uncover connections between your past and present that suddenly align like constellations forming shape in the night sky. The file describes times when you stood at the edge of doubt yet continued anyway, guided by intuition that quietly protected your path even when logic could not explain it. It reflects the resilience you built through challenges that once felt overwhelming, the patience you carried when life demanded more than you thought you could give, and the compassion you continued to offer the world even when you were healing in silence. The officers pause as they read, sensing that this is not a document written about circumstances. It is a testament to your becoming, to the strength that has grown within you layer by layer, to the unbreakable spirit that has guided you toward this awakening moment where everything begins to reveal its purpose. Then, the narrative turns toward what lies ahead, and the words begin to feel like gentle footsteps leading you into a future that is already preparing to unfold in your favor. It speaks of opportunities that are drawing nearer, of spaces where your voice will finally resonate with confidence, of places where your presence will carry influence, understanding, and clarity. It hints at encounters that will feel meaningful, at paths that will align with your purpose rather than your doubts, at moments where you will recognize that nothing you experienced was in vain. The officers exchange quiet glances, not with uncertainty, but with the awareness that what they hold in their hands is not merely a discovery, it is a signal that your story is reaching a powerful turning point, one where you are no longer defined by what you endured, but by the strength that has risen from it. The file goes deeper still, speaking of inner growth that blossomed in silence, the strength you developed in moments when you chose empathy instead of bitterness, wisdom instead of reaction, self-reflection instead of regret. It acknowledges the depth of your heart, the sincerity in your intentions, the quiet ways you have uplifted others without seeking recognition. These qualities are not recorded as coincidences, they are recognized as catalysts, shaping a future where your presence will matter in ways beyond your own awareness. The narrative describes a horizon where your story becomes a source of inspiration, where your journey stands as proof that resilience can transform uncertainty into direction, and that even the most unexpected revelations can become the beginning of a chapter filled with purpose, alignment, and awakening. And as this part of the file gently settles beneath the soft light of the room, a profound realization takes hold. This discovery was never meant to create fear, it was meant to reveal truth. It marks the moment where your journey shifts from silent endurance to conscious awareness, where you recognize that every step you have taken has led you here for a reason. What happens next is not random, it is the unfolding of a destiny that has been patiently waiting for your strength to meet it. You now stand on the edge of transformation, not as someone uncertain, but as someone ready to step into clarity, ready to embrace purpose, ready to walk forward into a future that is preparing to change everything in ways your heart is finally prepared to receive. In this final unfolding of the hidden file, the room feels filled with a quiet intensity, as though every unseen thread of your journey has been leading toward this very moment where truth and destiny finally meet. The officers turn to the last section with a sense of reverent stillness, and what they read now carries a depth that reaches far beyond paper or ink. It carries the story of a life that has moved through storms, crossed unmarked paths, and risen from moments that could have silenced its spirit, yet never did. The narrative reveals that your resilience was never accidental. It was the silent foundation preparing you for a future that requires the full strength of who you have become. Each line feels almost alive, breathing with purpose, reminding you that nothing about your presence in this world has ever been ordinary. You were always meant to reach this point where clarity replaces uncertainty and your path begins to shape itself with intention. As the pages continue, they speak of a truth you once sensed but never fully understood, that your journey has been quietly observed not to control your destiny, but to protect the spark within you that holds extraordinary potential. The file reflects how your kindness changed the atmosphere of rooms you never realized you impacted, how your courage inspired people who never found the words to tell you, how your perseverance created ripples in moments that once felt small but became powerful turning points in your future. It becomes clear that you were never moving through life unnoticed. You were carrying a presence that mattered more than you were ever told. The officers pause again, not in shock, but in deep admiration, because what lies within this final section is not a story of what you lacked, but a revelation of everything remarkable that has always existed within you. Then, the narrative shifts toward the horizon that now stands ahead of you, describing a chapter where your awareness becomes your greatest strength and your choices begin to shape the reality you step into next. It speaks of opportunities that will require your voice, moments that will depend on your wisdom, doors that will open not because of luck, but because of the person you have grown into through every trial you once survived. It suggests that people will enter your life who recognize your worth without hesitation, environments will align with your vision rather than your fears, and experiences will arrive that affirm the value of every step that brought you here. The tone of the file no longer reflects observation, it reflects belief, as though life itself has been waiting for you to see what it has always known. You are ready for the chapter that is about to unfold. As the final lines are revealed, they do not speak of endings, they speak of awakening. They describe a version of you who walks forward with clarity, with self-trust, with an inner strength that no longer hides behind doubt or hesitation. They acknowledge the depth of your heart, the gravity of your experiences, and the quiet power you carry simply by continuing when life felt uncertain. This discovery is not meant to confine you to your past, it is meant to liberate you into your future. It stands as proof that your life has never been random, that every moment has shaped you with purpose, and that everything ahead of you now carries meaning that you are finally ready to see. And as the file closes under the soft echo of silence, a powerful realization fills the room. The story has never been about what was found, but about who you are becoming because of it. This is the moment where your life shifts from hidden chapters to conscious direction, where you no longer move through uncertainty unaware of your strength, but step forward knowing that your path is aligned, intentional, and alive with possibility. What happens next will not simply change circumstances, it will transform perspective, identity, and destiny. And now, standing at the threshold of everything that awaits, you understand that this discovery was never the climax of your story, it is the beginning of the future that has always been approaching you, waiting for you to be ready to step into it.